Good morning, everyone. So we can start, Mr. Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan.
Shruti?
We are going live, sir.
Yes, sir.
30 more
Shruti
seconds.
will introduce the guest.
So everyone has to introduce himself first. Madam?
We will introduce you, sir.
I am Justice B.S. Chauhan, and I am chairing this session. I was a judge in High Court, Supreme Court, and then I was the chairman of the Law Commission. Now I am busy with arbitration. Thank you very much. Yes, please. So,
Shruti, go ahead.
Right.
So we'll be introducing the speakers now.
Go on.
So we can start. So today's subject, thank you very much, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan, choosing such a interesting subject. And the problem of strengthening the investigation and prosecution is a very serious issue. Because I want to deal with the historical background, where from this had come. And we must keep in mind that investigation and prosecution is governed by the Code of Criminal Procedure or similar statutes. So we have to understand how the CRPC came into existence, what was the purpose, and for which purpose it was initially enacted. After failure of mutiny in 1857, the East India Company was denuded of the power of governance, and by the Government of India Act 1858, such power vested in the British Crown. Directly, they wanted to govern. At that time, various commissions and committees were constituted to draft statutes. So far as drafting of the Police Act is concerned, there was a special direction. Guidelines were issued by the Crown. Draft the Police Act, keeping in mind that police is a paramilitary force. So basic purpose of establishment of police was to preserve the British rule and not to maintain law and order. First act drafted by such committees was the Code of Civil Procedure 1858. Then came CRPC 1859, which was revised substantially in 1879, and then 1998, and then we have this 1898, and then we have this present CRPC. So far as the Police Act was concerned, it came in 1861. Indian Police Act, though drafted by Lord Macaulay in 1834 to 1837, was revised by Barnes Peacock and came into 1860. So we have but the worst thing is that the Evidence Act, which is most important for prosecution, came in 1872. Now, if you compare the provisions in both these acts, in CRPC and Evidence Act, Section 114 of the Evidence Act, illustration E, provides that while dealing with any case, civil or criminal, court shall presume that every state action has been regularly performed. So this is a presumption. Presumption is rebuttable, but you have to lead an evidence in rebuttal. So far as CRPC is concerned, it provides for investigation. Now, if there is a presumption in Evidence Act that every state action shall be presumed to have been regularly performed, what does CRPC provides? Once an FIR is lodged under Section 154, under Section 157, the investigating officer or the authority in police station shall transmit the said FIR to the concerned magistrate forthwith. So it has two purposes. First is magistrate must be aware what is happening in his area, how the investigation is being conducted. But this forthwith word had been inserted with a purpose that police may not manipulate with the FIR. Now, if the presumption is that every action will be performed regularly, why do we doubt that police will manipulate in the FIR? 161. Statement recorded by the investigating officer shall not be admissible. By under section 15 of TADA, statement recorded is admissible merely because it is recorded by a gazetted officer. It's a question of integrity, honesty of an officer. It is a personal virtue of individual, not of the post. A person holding a very low post may be more honest than any person holding the higher post. Therefore, now section 172, case diary. Each page must have pagination and each page will be signed. Therefore, CRPC itself creates doubt that police will investigate the matter honestly. If we proceed with the investigation with doubt, and we are doubting the investigating agency, low doubts, not we. CRPC creates a doubt and puts so many embargoes, so many balances, so many checks that it may not go out of way. Therefore, the foundation of criminal justice system itself starts with doubt. This is a very serious problem after 70 years of independence. Why we are not able to trust our police? Now, why we are doubting police? Because all authorities, not only law doubts, courts doubt. First Police Commission was appointed in 1902 under the chairmanship of Andrew Fraser. He recorded, police in India is thoroughly corrupt. It is meant only for oppression and suppression of Indian people. It has inadequate training, no discipline, no supervision. In 1963, the Allahabad High Court dealt with a case, Muhammad Naeem, and recorded a finding that the most organized gang of criminals is Indian police. And nobody can match it. Supreme Court expunged those remarks saying that it was not necessary to decide. Subsequent thereto, so many law commissions have been appointed. It started with the first law commission under Dharamvira, 8 reports, 8 volumes. Then Ribeiro Commission, Padmanabhan Commission, Malimat Committee, Soli Sorabji was given the responsibility to draft the Police Act. He did it in 2006. So many law commissions report. Government never accepted and never implemented most of the recommendations made by any commission or any committee. If political people in power do not have the willpower to accept any of the recommendations, why do we appoint the commissions? What for? And courts had been doing, every committee, every commission had made a recommendation that at least separate the investigation from law and order, insulate the agencies. At least serious offenses must be committed by a completely independent agency. But there is no political will. In 2006, in Prakash Singh case, Supreme Court issued directions. None of them had been complied with. Every day there is a contempt in Supreme Court, but contempt is related only to one issue. Particular Director General of Police appointed by State A is not given 2 years' time and nothing else. Nobody had ever raised the issue that why do not have a separate agency or independent agency for investigation, at least for serious crimes. Now, police requires a better training. They must know how to use this technology, recent technology. They are overburdened. They are working 24 hours. They do not have service conditions, are not satisfactory. So many recommendations and reports have been made, but nothing had been complied with. Therefore, what will you do with this system of investigation if there is a nexus between police and criminals And our recent development, in 2020, there was a report issued in Outlook, published in Outlook, which says today's sitting MLAs throughout the country. He had given the figure that minimum is in Rajasthan, 26% of our MLAs in Rajasthan are involved in criminal cases. Maximum is 60% in Maharashtra. If all these people, if our representative in the state assemblies or the parliament are such a high number, 60% of our MLAs are facing criminal prosecution in particular state, how do we expect them that they would accept any recommendation? The Supreme Court had been issuing a direction that you complete all trial of the wherever the politicians are involved within 1 year. Now, what is the problem? If an FIR is lost, a capable person, a rich person goes to the High Court quashing the FIR, not quashed. Charge sheet is filed, quash the charge sheet, not quashed. Charges are framed, quash the charges. Judge has not applied his mind. No trial is start. Someone issued notice 3119. Set aside it. Every stage there is a problem for the court if you can afford. Why don't we have the law that let the trial be completed? Once the trial is completed, you say whatever you want to say and challenge the order in one go. Now, what is the utility? We are investigating and prosecuting. I give only 2 examples in recent. Lalit Mohan Mishra was the Chief Minister of Bihar. He was the Railway Minister. He was killed on 2nd January 1975. Trial was concluded after 40 years in 2014. It took 40 years to conclude the trial. Investigation and trial took 40 years. Another recent case is Raja Man Singh Bharatpur. He was killed in 1985, 22nd February 1985. Trial stood concluded in 2020. Case was transferred to state of UP in Mathura. 19 session judges were transferred, dealt with this case, but it took more than 36 years to conclude. Now, all these police officers, 11 police officers have been convicted in this case. They have filed the appeal in Allahabad High Court. Today, Allahabad High Court is hearing the criminal appeals which are pending for last 35 years. So these criminal appeals will not be decided in their lifetime. Every person who had been convicted in this case is not expected to have the result of their appeal during their lifetime. If they are granted bail, they go unpunished. If they are not granted bail, they will complete the sentence. So if there is a delay in investigation, every day there is a report that every effective person, every rich person is getting default bail because charge sheet is not filed within the stipulated period. Another problem is appeal is a continuity of trial. It takes 30 years, 40 years to be decided in most of the high courts. Media trial creates a problem even in investigation as well as in trial. Recently, Bombay High Court has dealt with this Tablighi Jamaat. Media created a propaganda against these persons that they are spreading the virus. And the Sushant Singh Rajput case, media had gone out of proportion. They come. So these are the problems because right to information under 19(1)(a) may be having a right of media, but Article 21 protects the individual. And the individual right must override the right of the media to get the information. Another biggest problem is what kind of advocates we have to defend the government. What is the mode of appointment of public prosecutor? After failure of this Watergate scandal, Kutak Commission was appointed by the American bar to find out what was the reason of its failure. Answer came, most unexperienced people had been appointed as government advocates. They were not men of credentials. They had no integrity. They were not competent, efficient, and that's why they failed. What is the system of appointment of the government advocate, public prosecutor? Section 24 CRPC. It will be appointment of a government advocate or public prosecutor either before the sessions court or the high court shall be with the consultation of the high court. Most of the high courts have dispensed with it. Therefore, even in the district court, sessions court, CRPC 24 provided that it will be with the consultation of the high court. Today, what is the situation? And there must be a consultation by the district magistrate with the district judge. Opinion of the district judge must prevail. Most of the states have amended this provision of section 24, doing away the process of consultation either with the high court or with the learned sessions judge. Therefore, the persons who have patronage in politics or the political bosses in power are being appointed. Now, a person who is involved in a crime engage the best criminal lawyer available in the bar, and the state is being represented by the most incompetent person only selected only on the consideration of political links. Therefore, unless Supreme Court had been issuing large number of directions, 30 years, 1991, Srileka Vidyarthi, till today, Supreme Court had passed minimum 60 judgments how the public prosecutor should be appointed. What should be their number? If I am the chief minister, I will appoint all advocates belonging to my caste as a government advocates. And they must get 2 lakhs rupees per month. Therefore, this appointment of most incompetent persons having no integrity are being appointed as public prosecutor, and nobody is listening to the judgment of the Supreme Court. The central government, the parliament amended the CRPC, adding a provision section 25 capital A, that for the high court and the sessions court, because we have a panel, we have a government service for the magistrate courts, but not for the sessions court and the high court. So 25 capital A was added, that there will be a department of prosecution and its director shall be a lawyer who is eligible to be appointed as a high court judge, having minimum 10 years practice. He will be the in charge of this. And there will be a regular cadre. They will retire at a particular age. Not a single state in India had implemented these provisions of section 25 capital A till today. This is amendment in the Central Act, CRPC. The state has a right to bring amendment in it with the assent of the president. Not a single state had made any amendment, but simultaneously they have chosen not to implement the provisions of the section 25A. Therefore, unless the amendments are made and the competent people are appointed, it is difficult to believe that we can improve the system of either investigation or prosecution. Now, next problems comes courts. What is kind of infrastructure, technology, use of technology, how many of our judges know the technology, what is the facilities provided to it. If you fill up the vacancy of all judicial officers, there had been always 35-40% vacancies in every state. Mere eligibility is not enough to appoint a person as a judicial officer. He must be suitable also. Article 335 of the Constitution provides that the state has a right to refuse reservation benefit if it has to compromise with the efficiency of the administration. If we can refuse the appointment on the ground of reservation merely because you are eligible but not suitable, should we appoint or fill up all the vacancies appointing non-suitable persons? If you are filling up the vacancies by non-suitable officers, they will not be able to deal with it, to deliver the goods. They will create a problem. Both parties will be aggrieved by their order because they are not suitable persons. So filling up the vacancies or increasing the number of vacancies in the trial court or the high court or anywhere is not the solution of the problem. If a good lawyer starts and he pick up very good practice, he is not willing to become a judicial officer. because he has to face the transfer, posting, so many problems, and they don't want to go out. Many people in High Court refuse to become a High Court judge merely on the ground of transfer or such and such person. So we have to improve the service condition, choose the best persons available in the society. As a government advocate, as a judicial officer, we should not compromise with the administration, efficiency of the administration. So these are the serious problems. Now, when we say that some judicial officer must be brought on deputation, or some High Court judge or retired High Court judge may be appointed as a director of prosecution in a state to improve the situation. In the present scenario, would it be possible for our political bosses to accept this proposal? These are the serious issues. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to express myself. Now I will request Honorable Justice Sahil Yani Sahab to share his views. He had a good experience, a judge for a long time, the judge of the High Court, then former Lokayukta. So, sir, we want to hear you, give your views.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Justice Chauhan, if you could adjust your microphone, there is a problem with the audio. Off and on, we're not able to hear properly.
Oh, sorry. Microphone. Sorry.
Yes.
उनको बुला लीजिए.
Justice Tehliar.
May I start?
Sir, please.
Honorable Justice V.S. Chauhan
Or
and
should they?
respected Shri Karthikeyan and other participants of this webinar. We are discussing a very serious subject about which Honorable Justice V.S. Chauhan has given us outline and the problems we are facing today. And he has gone to the root cause of the problems which are arising in the investigation and prosecution. A few things before I go to the other issues, few things which Justice Chauhan mentioned is about the police criminal this nexus and trust deficit in police department. Now this is age old. Trust deficit is not only because people say that trust deficit is there, but actually trust deficit is actually there because the experience of people with the police, for whatever reasons, there are many reasons. We may discuss those reasons today or in any separate discussion, but people don't feel like going to the police station and you see the lodging report. If they go to police station and come back, their experience is very bad. Particularly the subordinate cadre of police department. The police don't want to behave like that, to my mind. Maybe there is lack of training, or maybe they are introduced in the system, in the atmosphere, which you see make them like that. Initially, they are not, they are good persons. They are good by behavior. But once they enter the department and when they see the atmosphere of police station and behavior of their superior officers and other police officers, probably they also feel that this is the way they need to behave if they are policemen. So that is separate issue and big issue, behavioral issue. And Justice Chauhan also spoke about the media trial and incompetence of PPs and judges, eligibility and suitability. These things are two different things. Now, person may be eligible. He has 5 years experience at the bar. He is first class LLB and all these things. But whether he is suitable to be a judge or not, that has to be examined from all point of views. Similarly, PP's appointment, I agree with Justice Chauhan that there is a serious issue regarding appointment of PPs. As we know today, there is no separation of prosecution and law and order. In police department, there is no separate cadre of police which deal with investigation of cases. The same policemen, sometimes they are sent to the armed department, maybe then they call it as a punishment. Same policeman is brought to the police station after few years or few months. And the practice, to my knowledge, in Maharashtra at least, is that once a policeman is appointed, he first goes to the armed forces. Means he has to deal with the law and order, bringing accused from the police, the jail and other things, and handling the morchas and all these things. But whatever law and order issues are there, they are to be dealt with by them. That is separate department for that. They call it LA, local armed. So after remaining few years in that department, armed department, they come to the police station. Then they come to know what is FIR, what is Panchanama, what is forensic report, and what is all these things. Till that time, they don't know anything except holding lathi or a rifle. So that is the problem. When recruitment is done and training is given to them, at the time of training, they are trained about the investigation also. But what happens actually, their appointment is done in non-investigating department. Therefore, if the investigation wing and law and order wing is separated, and at the time of recruitment itself, it is made clear, and recruitment process is like that only, that the person who is selected from armed department, he will go to law and order, and person who is selected for the investigation department, he will go to the police station. Now, it may happen that a person who is in the armed department wants to become an investigator. Then there should be some criteria, there should be some examination, there should be some interview whether he is fit for, entering the investigation or not. Otherwise, such persons will spoil the investigation because they are trained in law and order. What happens after 7 to 8 years of law and order, remaining in law and order, when they come to police station, they are already more than 35. Then after become 35 or 30 or 35, they are given some orderly job or some courier job or some subordinate job. They are not trained for investigation. So when they are mature, when they, are used for investigation, they have already spent more than 15 years of their service in the police department, which is the prime time of their life when they can learn, they have energy, they have, urge to learn. They were asked to do something good for the society, something good for the investigation. That time, they are not given the opportunity. That opportunity is lost. We are investing the youth in the police department, and when they become senior, then then we give them all these things. Sub-inspectors who are directly appointed by the, MPS, means Local Public Service Commission, the position is that after becoming sub-inspector, he doesn't have, the inclination to learn investigate the case properly. He just go on what the others are doing. There is training is also suffering, because if you are training officers at a particular training center, who are training them? You send a public prosecutor for training them law, to whom you don't want in the system. The teacher, teaching is an art. If a teacher is not able to teach the students, the officers properly, and if they are not able to understand the law, the problem will be created in the future. Just they will pass out the training and they will join the cadre. And then the effect of it, results we are watching, what is happening today. Today's senior head constables are better Panchanama writers than the sub-inspectors. Because sub-inspectors, they are very raw and they don't try to understand it. Political sycophancy, makes them, again, that is an issue. So separation of investigation from law and order is a must. It is need of the hour. Because trust deficit, I will not speak much about trust deficit is not in police department, but trust deficit has now entered many other departments also, including judiciary. Yes. So let us not dwell much upon that trust deficit. Let us speak about the merits of the system. And trust deficit is there whether I enter police department or whether I enter judiciary. If I am dishonest, I have to be dishonest. Whether I become a police officer or become a judicial officer. So that is another issue which has to be dealt with at separate level. But today, my sincere opinion is that the investigation shall be separated from law and order. And there should be separate cadre. One cadre, transferability of from one cadre to another cadre should be on certain conditions. The person who is not trained in investigation shall not be transferred to investigation wing unless he is trained for that or unless he passes a particular examination to be fit for investigation. Because investigation is a serious issue. When to register the FIR, when not to register the FIR. Forget about the sincerity of the police officers at the police station. They don't take FIR. Working of offense is the biggest problem in our country today. You just go to police station and tell them that my iPhone I lost my iPhone or somebody has stolen, snatched away. They will take down your name, the mobile number, if you have that IMEI number and all these things. And they will tell you, we will inform you if it is traced. Now, there is a case of theft. Mobile phone has been snatched away or taken away from my pocket in the bus or train. It is not a case that I left mobile phone in the taxi. Then in that case, why FIR should not be registered? Why offenses should be bugged? There should be registration of offenses. Once the offense is registered, it becomes responsibility of the police officer to investigate it. It may end into summary, closure report, or evidence could not be found, or it may result into charge sheet. Two things are bound to happen. One of the two things are bound to happen. But they will happen when FIR is registered. If FIR is not registered, offenses are bugged to show the low crime rate, then how are you going to improve the system? You cannot improve the system by doing all these manipulations. So this working of offense is one issue. And again, coming back, separation of this investigation from the law and order. Now, Honorable Justice Chauhan spoke about the prosecutor, the director of prosecutors. Now, after in many of the states, there are director of prosecutions. In Maharashtra also, there is director of prosecution.
But sir, they are police officers.
No. The director of prosecutions are the persons from the cadre. Police, public prosecutors cadre, assistant public prosecutors cadre. Now, the prosecution in Maharashtra is like that. The prosecutors who work in the court of magistrates, they are appointed on regular basis as a regular pay scale. Prosecutors who work in sessions court and high court, they are paid honorarium for per case per day or something like that. So those who are on regular basis, they are under director of public prosecutions. Now the problem is that director of public prosecutions is an ornamental post. He doesn't have any authority over the cadre. He cannot transfer even on his recommendation. There is no transfer. If he recommends this prosecutor is not fit for this job, or there are complaints against him, transfer him, nothing is done. So just to fill up the post, somebody is appointed. In some intervening period, there were police officers also as director of prosecutions. So they were also there for some or other reason. Why they were appointed, I don't know, because they don't have the experience of prosecution, is a different wing. So normally the person who is dealing with prosecution should be appointed director of prosecution.
Sir,
So
why? Sir, section 25A, I want to hear you on 25A because you are the most experienced person, so we are concerned. Having all experience.
So that is not followed. That is what you said.
It's a central act. Why it should not be followed?
It should be followed. The problem is that you see, neglecting the prosecution is become a biggest problem. Investigating agencies, you see the infrastructure of prosecutors and infrastructure of investigators. Investigators are getting good infrastructure.
Chaliye. So,
See,
sir,
the police station level, there is good infrastructure, computers, printers, scanners, Xerox machines, colored printers, and everything is there. But if you see the offices of prosecutors, forget about the magisterial court. If you see the offices of prosecutors in sessions court, there is no place for them to sit. How they will concentrate on the work? Incompetency, political appointment, these are the issues. No doubt about it. A third issue is that if such a person, whoever is appointed, if he doesn't have the place to sit, where should he keep his briefs? Where should he take instructions from the police officers? All of them are keeping their cases in the court hall and they directly come to the court. Witness enters the witness box and they ask him, "Kya hua? Chalo aap bataiye." Now the prosecutor doesn't know what this witness is going to tell the court. Unless you know your case, they don't prepare the case. That is the problem. Unless you know your case, what case I have to present, how can you present the case effectively? You must know your case because the order of witnesses in which they are to be examined, it is the prerogative of the prosecutor. He may examine X witness as number 1, Y witness as number 2, right? So unless I know my case, I will examine whichever witness is brought by the police. Okay, put him in the witness box. He must first decide which witness should go to the witness box first, in which order I shall present the case of prosecution before the court so that it is effectively presented. Presentation of evidence is a very important thing. Secondly, prosecutor must know what is admissible in evidence, what is not admissible in evidence. Just the witness is going tell everything and the judges are also recording. That is not the correct way of doing things. So the problem arises, as you said, sir, that the prosecutor has to, face a very competent big lawyer, senior lawyer, and prosecutors are not that competent. That happens. But that does not prevent the prosecutors to make them capable of fighting those lawyers. I was prosecutor for 7 years in a place like Gadchiroli, a small town which is now Naxalite affected. I was 7-year prosecutor there. I was assistant public prosecutor, they were known as police prosecutors in the court of judicial magistrate.
Sir, we will come back to you again. Now let us hear, because we must just express our view for 15 minutes, maximum 20 minutes.
Okay.
So we have second round. We will hear you again.
Okay. Now, this is I am telling about you. I had no office. 50 rupees were given to me for maintaining my office. I was maintaining my office. I was writing inward register. I was writing outward register. I was reading criminal journal.
No,
so
the question is why we should not improve it.
So that's what I am telling you.
How to be permitted to go on forever?
So it has to be improved. It has to be improved.
Right.
Gadchiroli, the position of police prosecutor in magistrate court is same.
Right.
Except his pay scale, nothing has improved.
Sir, now thank you very much. We will hear Dr. Jayaprakash Narayanji.
I only want 5 minutes more if you...
No, in second round, sir. We will give 10 minutes.
Okay.
Let us first hear the main. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Justice Tahilyani and friends. Both you and Justice Tahilyani gave us a rich harvest at the poor state of investigation and prosecution in India. Your question is, why doesn't it change? I'm neither a jurist nor a professional police officer. Therefore, my reflections are more as a concerned citizen who has given some thought to these issues. If you look at the bigger picture, I think the police, in terms of public order maintenance, have done a very creditable job in India. We are an extraordinarily diverse and fractious society with tremendous political polarization. Despite that, on the whole, if you see, India has been peaceful, and the police deserve a lot of credit for that, apart from the strength of our society and polity. And also society is pretty strong and crime is relatively low. We are very fortunate. Both of you have made a wonderful point, Justice Chauhan and Justice Tahliani, about the trust deficit we inherited from the British. There are two approaches. I would like this to be addressed not merely by the panelists, but I want the audience and others to understand out there. There are two approaches to dealing with these issues. One is we mistrust policemen, therefore do not give them powers, weaken them, and then expect them to act extrajudicially because the due process will not work, therefore kill people in captivity or do some other things we think that is all right, bring public pressure. The other approach is empower them adequately, but hold them to account and expect results. It doesn't require a genius to recognize that what we need is the second approach. Empower. A police officer who has the power to fire if necessary to control crowds. We do not even want proper investigation by him because we mistrust him. It's an extremely dangerous approach. The second broad point I'd like to make is, as Justice Chauhan mentioned, Prakash Singh case, Supreme Court gave very wonderful directives. It didn't work. Why? I have been Commonwealth observer in elections in a couple of countries. I can assure you, I've seen some things which are remarkable. There are countries where the police chief is feared more than the head of the government. There is tremendous fear. That's not what we want. If you say the DGP should be given a 3-year tenure, appointed by some kind of a collegium and kept completely independent, the government of the day will not really have much say. Not only in India, in an elected democracy anywhere in the world, for a government, it's a very difficult thing because we combine all kinds of tasks: public order maintenance, crowd control, intelligence gathering, traffic maintenance, and a whole of plus crime investigation. That is the chief reason why it did not work. It's not merely because there are bad politicians or bad policemen, etc. So our humble attempt today is to try and see if there's a reconciliation possible. Similarly, Justice Chauhan, today he mentioned, and he also mentioned to me in a private conversation earlier, how the very well-intentioned Section 25 has not really borne fruit in many states. That's the context in which
we can't hear you.
So there is some problem. Eh?
We can't hear you, Dr. Nand.
There seems to be an issue with the internet, sir. Please hold on for 1 second.
Madam Sweta, remove it. The problem.
Please give us 2 minutes, sir. We're fixing it.
my apologies for this interruption. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Sir, again there is a problem.
Our apologies, sir. Maybe we can hear Mr. Tahliani's remaining remarks while we fix the issue. What do you think,
Hello?
sir?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
You want me to speak?
If you feel that's
Okay.
appropriate, sir.
Few issues were left earlier when we were discussing Mr. Jayaprakash about separation of investigation and
Law and order.
law and order, and strengthening of police investigation and prosecution. These are the two issues we are discussing. Now, strengthening of investigation infrastructure, I feel that police have got a sufficient infrastructure. There is no issue. But other things are lacking.
My
Training
apologies,
is
sir,
not
again.
good.
Internet is a problem. My apologies, sir. I'll quickly rush through some of the slides.
Okay.
Can we have slide 1, please?
Yes, sir.
No, we know the problems of investigation. You take the Noida 2008 Arushi Talwar case, where several courts have commented on the shoddy investigation. You take Gurugram, the case of Ashok Kumar, a bus driver unfairly accused by the police of being the a criminal in the case of a brutal murder of a 7-year-old boy, but the CBI subsequently they exonerated him after due investigation, found the real culprit. It's a very recent case, relatively. Recently, we've heard about Haryana gang rape case, Hathras, I think Uttar Pradesh. Hathras case, we have seen how there is a deliberate effort on the part of administration to not investigate the accused. Hyderabad, Disha case, police were more or less forced by the society. The extrajudicial killings were because of the public pressure, because of lack of faith in the whole investigative process and the judicial process. That's the context in which we're looking at it. As I mentioned, the conviction rate, next slide, please, in India is the lowest in the world. I already made the point. Next slide, please. Obviously, there are inadequate resources. This slide is more about the CBCID numbers. It's only about 15 or 20,000 in the whole country. But if you take even the regular civil police investigators, the number is too small for a country as large as India. Next slide, please. Public prosecutors, the situation is even more alarming. We have among the lowest public prosecutor ratio in the world. Only 6 per million population. Justice Tehrani made the point in a very compelling manner. Not only is the number inadequate, but they're under-resourced and not really respected. They're given very little opportunity, and ultimately very perfunctory kind of prosecution takes place in most cases. Next slide, please. If you take a comparison with the US, well, not all comparisons are meaningful, but some will be helpful at least in understanding the situation. If you take the total number of serious crimes and unnatural deaths, India has 600,000 plus as opposed to 400,000 plus in the US. But next slide, please. If you take the number of prosecutors, strength of investigating officers and prosecutors, we have again the lowest number. Therefore, caseload per investigating officer as opposed to 4 or so in the US is 26 in India. Per prosecutor as opposed to 7 or so in the US, we have 68 in India. Obviously, there are serious deficiencies. We're not investing enough in human resources and money. Next slide, please. And of course, the challenge is political interference. I would like to spend a minute, Mr. Chairman, with your permission.
Yes.
Law and order certainly requires political oversight. In our exuberance, in our desire to take away all the police functioning from political oversight, I think we have guaranteed that that reform will fail. My appeal now is let us recognize that investigation of crime, particularly serious crime, even minor crime, let's not worry too much about it. Heavens will not fall. At least serious crime above a certain threshold, and let us say 3 years imprisonment. The investigation is about collecting admissible evidence and bringing it before a court of law for conviction. As the next slide shows, the criminal justice standards of American Bar Association say the purpose of a criminal investigation is to develop sufficient factual information to enable the prosecutor to make a fair and objective determination of whether and what charges should be brought, and to guard against prosecution of the innocent, and 2, develop legally admissible evidence sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction of those who are guilty and warrant prosecution. Obviously, these 2 functions have to be quasi-judicial. Unless we separate these 2 functions, as Justice Tehlani said, from the normal other police functions, we will never be able to get some kind of a consensus in the country, and we will continue to flounder. Next slide, please.
Non-partisan.
Therefore, I'll come to the concluding portion of my presentation. Let us look at the overall crimes in the country. 80% are relatively minor offenses. Not that they're unimportant, but they're relatively minor offenses. And a country as complex as India, we cannot solve all the problems overnight. Anyway, the regular police today are handling all crime investigation. The CBCID, even where it exists in states, it does not have any automatic jurisdiction. It only deals with the cases that are transferred to it. And therefore, really, crime investigation is the regular police stations. Our appeal is, let that continue for all the general policing and 80% of the cases of a lower threshold, below 3 years of imprisonment. Above 3 years, they will constitute roughly about 20% of the cases. Let us strengthen the CBCID, make it professional, and let them have automatic jurisdiction over cases above 3 years imprisonment threshold, and make them insulated from political vagaries by creating an independent investigation and prosecution board headed by a retired Supreme Court judge of the High Court, very much like a Lokayukta. And let that be totally independent. That body can be appointed by a collegium of the Chief Minister, Chief Justice, Opposition Leader, and others. But that body, once appointed, shall be totally independent with a tenure, with a few ex officio members like the current DGP, etc. Similarly, Board of Prosecution, whatever Section 25A contemplated, let us make it mandatory and bring a judge again here, a retired judge of the High Court, with complete authority over prosecution of the state. As Justice Tailani said, not a titular office where it doesn't have control, but all prosecution in the state must be under his control. A third topic, again, raise some alarm bells, I'm sure. We have the practice in many states of drawing upon the sitting judges, the district judges, as law secretaries. Andhra Pradesh had that practice for a long time. Many of them became subsequently High Court judges. Let us build upon that practice, provided we increase the number of judges, because we cannot deplete the already depleted judiciary, increase the number of judges, and bring district judges rank officers as district prosecutors or district attorneys for a tenure of 5 years. They go back to judiciary again after this work, and they'll again be completely independent under the overall functioning of the Director of Prosecutions, who is a former judge of the High Court, and the Crime Investigation and Prosecution Board, headed by an impartial body, headed by a former Supreme Court judge or a High Court Chief Justice, but completely independent of political control. That limited extent, I think, is possible and absolutely necessary, in addition to increasing the strength of the investigative agency, the forensic capabilities, and prosecution strength, and increasing the quality of prosecutors. Next slide, please. This slide shows one backward, the one back. I think even one before that. No, after this, I think there's some confusion. Let me go on, after this. This slide shows, no, the one before this, I'm sorry. No, the one before this, yeah. The independent district attorney at the district level for each district, then chief of prosecution, holding the district attorneys and all the prosecutors in the county with adequate number of prosecutors. We have incredibly small number of prosecutors. Actually, the number of prosecutors is half the number of judges. And a board of investigation and prosecution to supervise everything, both investigation and prosecution, with the CBCID empowered, made politically completely insulated, and with adequate infrastructure and forensics and accountability system. Because again, the issue is empowerment with accountability. I'm sure this can be improved. We have looked at it in the Second Administrative Reforms Commission in considerable depth. We have to find a reconciliation. Let me make one last plea. We have to find a reconciliation. Last slide, please. We have to recognize that in a democracy, elected representative cannot be excluded, the executive and elected legislature. Therefore, the law and order police, with about 95% of the police force and about 80% of the criminal cases of low threshold, will continue to remain as they are, with such improvements as are necessary, broadly in line with what the Supreme Court has directed. But crimes above a certain threshold, let that be given to a strengthened, empowered CBCID in all major states, and improve the infrastructure and forensics, but bring that entirely under the control of the investigation and prosecution board headed by a retired Supreme Court judge or retired High Court Chief Justice. With the rest of the members, except a few exceptional members, appointed by a collegium. All the members appointed by a collegium, including the Chief Minister, Chief Justice, and the opposition leader. And once they're there for a tenure or ex officio. They cannot be changed, and they alone will monitor both investigation and prosecution. And prosecution, as I mentioned, the district attorney at the district level, drawn from the judiciary for a tenure and goes back to the judiciary. This necessarily means we also must increase the number of judges for a variety of other reasons apart from this reason. And the whole prosecution entirely functioning under the state prosecutor general or director of prosecutions, drawn from judiciary, retired judge. And again, be a part of the investigation and prosecution board, that judge will be. And it will be functioning under the overall umbrella of the investigation prosecution board. This is one practical proposal. I would appeal to you to look at this. And if we broadly agree with such modifications as are necessary, let us see how best we can persuade the electoral system, political system, and the other stakeholders agree with this. I think it's possible, it's doable. Let me just state one thing in conclusion. Gladstone, the great reformer, said, the purpose of a government is to make it easy for people to do good and difficult to do evil. If the criminal justice system fails, eventually the society will be in serious peril. We are lucky so far because of social controls, because we are still agrarian society, largely rural, and everybody knows everybody else. Therefore, the family controls and social controls are keeping crime under check. That good fortune will not last forever. In an increasingly globalized society with rapid urbanization and economic growth, with impersonal lives, with a lot of anonymity, crime is already rising. The evidence is now in metropolitan cities, crime is rising much, much faster than ever before. Therefore, the good fortune that we had so far of a very low crime rate of 377 per 100,000 population, it's one of the lowest crime rates in the world. This will not last.
Thank you.
There's a desperate need in order to inject both efficiency and transparency and accountability with adequate empowerment and vigorous investigation and prosecution with much higher rates of conviction. My appeal is, let us look at some of these ideas.
Let us see. Thank you very much.
Learn from the past experience and synthesize the past experience and learnings and the global experience and do something significant to make change possible. I'm an optimist. I believe if we give a formula which is workable, duly understanding the legitimate political concerns of the elected representatives, things will happen. I know it's not as easy as it sounds, but that's the only way forward in a democracy. There's no other way. Cynicism and despair are not the option. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I will request Mr. Karthikeyan. Please tell us, because you have such a vast experience of investigation, prosecution.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Honorable judges, Dr. Narayan, Dr. Anjana Reddy, and participants. It's a great opportunity. I retired 22 years back from active policing. But, I had many occasions to participate in events organized by the Bar Association, judiciary, police officers, and all that. Now, just make a few preliminary remarks I would like to make. It's a vast subject. These subjects are, interconnected, actually. You can't separate investigation and prosecution. It's the entire criminal justice system, administration is totally interconnected. My thoughts go to some of the very important and significant events in which I had participated and I had opportunity to share my views more elaborately. One was the evidence I tendered before the Parliamentary Committee on Home Affairs and Law. And a few years back, I was invited to participate in the Vigyan Bhavan Conference on Law and Judicial Reforms, organized by the Bar Association. And of course, the most important memorable event is when I was invited to participate in the retreat of Honorable Supreme Court judges in the National Judicial Academy in Bhopal on the invitation of the Supreme Court. Many, frankly, we had opportunity to discuss everything, plus, minus points and all that. I will not go into that, but 22 years, as I told you, I retired from active service. I will not go into this. I admire the honorable judges to have gone through section by section and all that. I entirely endorse all that have been said by them. And also with a brilliant presentation by Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan. It's high time we do something about it because very little has been done in the last 70 years. Population has gone up, crime has gone up, all types of crimes have gone up, and the people's trust, the entire system is coming down. What will happen if people lose faith in the system? There will be street justice. People will start settling scores, as you mentioned, and they will feel we are compelled to do something which we cannot accept because it becomes the law of the land. It becomes law of the jungle, and neither democracy nor rule of law we can claim about it. Of course, as we all know, the Supreme Court orders on directions on the police reforms, if they had been honorably, sincerely implemented by all the states, things would have been much better. But it has not happened. Somehow they have been able to evade it, and the courts are also not able to go beyond a point to force them to comply with all those orders. So ineffective preventive action, slow and inefficient investigation, slow and ineffective trials, antiquated and outdated laws, procedures of investigation and trial, lack of commitment and cooperation on the part of all concerned have resulted in deterioration of the entire system to the extent the commission of crime has become a low risk and high profit business. Criminals are roaming around. Some people are caught, very few get convicted. And our system enables the investigation to go on forever and also the trials go on for, as was pointed out by the honorable judges also earlier. So in such a permissive atmosphere, crime naturally flourishes. When ordinary crime goes unchecked, it is important to ensure even ordinary crime to be investigated properly, promptly, and punished, because if ordinary crime goes unchecked, it becomes a fertile ground for organized crime and terrorism to thrive. An unjust acquittal, I want to repeat, an unjust acquittal is as bad for the society as an unjust conviction of the individual now. So when people commit such crime and escape or can delay the whole thing, then others will embolden, okay, we can also get away from that and all that. I happen to be in the National Human Rights Commission on the investigation of Honorable Justice Venkatacharya. I have seen many of these cases and all that. I only want to say one thing because I will deviate from what I wanted to say now. There was an instance where a very top political leader of a state, two of them came. I was Director General. They walked into my room. Brushing aside the guard and with a TV camera came inside. He said, all our followers are being eliminated in the name of encounters. All our followers are being killed. Number of them. It was around 6 o'clock, but my chairman was still in the office. So I rang him up, Honorable Justice Venkatacharya. I told him, sir, so-and-so has come with a lot of people. Okay, bring only 2 of them. I went with 2 of them. They said all that. So the chairman was upset, he's a highly sensitive person. After that, he said, why don't you yourself go and see what's happening in the state? I'm just telling what happened. Normally, we send officers. So I went to the state. I told the Director General of Police, please, I would like to meet all the officers. He said, sir, no. So I don't want to mention that if this is the district, you will know which state it is. So when I said, no, not necessarily, only the senior people. There were 20 of them came, including a particular district officer about which a lot of complaints came. I said, I want to know the truth. I'm not going to report to the commission also. I will not write down the names. But I want to know. One man got up, youngster got up and said, sir, this is what happened. A man involved in 50 crimes, including murders, either gets an acquittal because witnessed in horse ride or whatever it is, and so many he goes out and comes out. And one day he saw, he felt attracted to a lady in a mall, and he told his followers, and they kidnapped her. And then, the thousands of people came to my office protesting, what is this? And we identified in no time, it is the fellow. We surrounded the place. Then my inspector said, sir, you withdraw from the scene. There will be one more case. We'll arrest him, prosecute him. He said, withdrew. 3 hours later, said there was an encounter. The lady was discovered. So they were actually armed fellows were there, also shot people. And it happened. They said bigger crowd came and Garland and me and all the celebrities. What do you want to do? I said, no, I understand your position. Maybe there's a deficiency in this whole system. That's why his fellow is able to come out again and again and do it. But who gave the authority to do it? You and I or the people on the, you're recruited, you selected as a police officer. You are given training, you're taken the oath, you will go abide by the law. There's a deficiency of the law, you can't fill it up by your overaction. That's what will happen. A man in the uniform can decide who should leave, who should not leave. What about the system, whole thing? System. If you do this, then they will never change the law also, procedure also. It will continue to be like this. And then you will get condemned. Police will get condemned over a period of nobody will trust you. This I told them, but I came and reported to the commission. So this is what happened. I'm not putting in writing what happened and all that. Now what I'm saying is, unless we fill up the deficiencies in the system, this lawlessness will continue. Some over-enthusiastic person will do something like this. And where do we go? We'll be law of the jungle. To prevent it, I'm glad, Jayaprakash and this, the foundation for Nitya, so many times it has happened. As you said, so many commission reports have come. Supreme Court orders are not implemented. Where do you go? There is a way of avoiding this implementation. Because everybody in power, when they are in power, they want complete control of the police. They want the police to be the instrument, tool in their hands. But when they become opposition, yes, they want everything to be done now. We can't allow this to go on, otherwise, what will happen to the society now? Sorry, we're coming to the subject of this. You mentioned, the chairman mentioned about this section 16, TADA. I was investigating also the Rajiv Gandhi case. I was requested by the government to take up the case when everybody in Delhi refused to take it up. Okay. Now, the TADA gave this provision. But I told officers, I said, no, this won't last. When this matter comes up in appeal and all that, by them, they would have said, this is, against the Constitution. So don't go by 16. TADA will be only use it for only supportive, corroborative. Investigation has to be done on each point on which these people's statement. We have to collect independent evidence. Because ultimately, they say you collect evidence only on the basis of 16 TADA, the case will go. I had the premonition this will be set aside because this cannot be accepted. And that's how, we did it now. Ultimately, what happened, 16 TADA was not, alone was not acceptable. So, of course, we all said this. Because criminalization of politics, what has happened now. And politicization of police. This is a major problem. They have destroyed the system. Hierarchy is gone, by and large. There are some officers, there are some chief ministers, some governments who do not allow much of interference and all that. There are senior officers who do not allow this situation. But otherwise, by and large, so they don't look up to the system. Because they get posted by somebody, their loyalty goes somewhere else. So unless this is, hierarchy is restored and hold the officers, whether it's a DG of police or student of police, hold them accountable totally. But provided they allow them as exercising their authority, you don't allow that, then how do you hold them responsible? And then I asked the officers in the same state. The complaint came, then commission asked me to check up, look into it. Every 3 months, the SP was changed. MP of a district was changed. I asked them, why did you do that? Many of the younger officers were principal, sir, we resisted. Opposed people, they are able to get things done to their subordinate people. Because if we resist it, what happens after 3 months, 4 months, we are changed. How long can we do it? I am prepared to do it. But my wife complains, uniform, getting children admission to school. All these things are beyond a point where you just give up. So this is a basic thing is unless you restore. Of course, a lot of changes have to be made in the law and all that. We will not go into that. recruitment, training, everything is, a lot of improvement to be done. But you must restore authority. So even today, with all the restrictions, police have enormous powers. Not as about it. CBI has enormous powers with all the complaints of interference and all these things. But allow, same thing until the parliamentary committee and also the commissioner said, you appoint somebody following the procedure. Let there be a transparent system like what happens in America, whether it's director CBI or DG of police or whatever it is, where the man, unless they've got something to cover up, they will not even offer up themselves because they go through a parliamentary panel, Senate committee. Their public inquiry is done. Your past, your integrity, your competence, all that is tested. Then they are appointed. Nobody questions them. Here also, unless the basic changes brought about in taking the head of the police force and the 2-year system, 3-year system, you know what happened. They are able to manipulate that also today now. So unless you give the authority and power to the people and hold them accountable totally, let them be accountable for legislature or parliament also. Otherwise, this whatever tinkering we may do here and there is not going to bring about big change in the system of the country. It will be a very, very sad day. Recruitment training important. Now, as you said, all types of laws are given to you. Pass a law, police will investigate. For sub-inspector police, I know very well how much of suffering they have to do. There are bad people, bad executions. They have to deal with so many things. When everybody is enjoying a holiday, Deepavali or whatever it is, these fellows are on the roads. And how many people get killed? I was in the center of the police force also. How many people get killed? They can't go. Even when the child is born or father dies, they cannot go. And all that. So this being said, there is a lot of empathy to be shown, but instead of simply condemning the police as useless and all that, no use. You allow the system to be continued like this, people will get the police they deserve. So unless we have the committee like this have the courage to make recommendations, and it will be a public issue, there will be a demand from the public at large. Only then, the powers that be will be able to force to make some changes and all that. There are police forces which are much more corrupt, from many other countries. How is it they are able to do it? Because the system, the basic system has to be changed. And right from the law, procedure and all that, appointing the senior people, make a transparent system. When it's appointed, people should know, yes. No, they don't question those people. So I would only say that I got so many other points. I don't want to say that. Now, yes, prosecution, I want to tell you. I raised it in the very high power conference we had in Vigyan Sabha. Sitting judges were there. I was on the panel. I said, maybe I do the most efficient investigation. But what type of prosecution did the police officer cannot? The bridge is between the court and the investigator is the prosecutor. He must be a competent man and man of integrity. Now, by and large, you know how you are appointed. He must be a member of the political party or sympathizer, openly known to be a sympathizer of the political party. Then what type of prosecution is going to do it? So it's a vicious circle. So the police officer will say, sir, prosecution didn't do it. Prosecutor will say investigation is poor. So everybody gets acquitted. Then what happens now? So this is an opportunity. I compliment Jayaprakash and his team. Please don't leave it like this, because one more book, one more report should not come. Let it be a public issue. Let there be a demand from the public. If you want good governance, if you want safety, security, you want people to move around with such security, they think they can trust the police, they can faith in the court, speedy investigation, speedy trial is possible. It should be made a public movement, Jayaprakash.
Thank you, sir.
I don't want to take too much of your time or endorse all that has been beautifully said by the judges and Jayaprakash also. But let us go to the fundamentals, and whatever comes out, bring it to the public forum. There will be a demand from the public. And then it will happen. There is only way it can happen, because ultimately people look at the votes.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So may I request now Dr. Anjanesh Reddy, sir? Please express your views.
Yes. Yeah, Justice Chauhan, Justice Thailiani, my good friend Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan, and my senior colleague Sri Karthikeyan. So I want to say a few things. Let it the discussion. I think it's a wide-ranging discussion now, but I would like to confine myself to the problem on hand. Problem on hand is how to make investigating agencies autonomous at the same time accountable. Nobody disputes that the investigating part of this function should be separated from the order keeping functions. It is a recommendation which is 40 years old. It's nothing new. But how do we do it? Now, as it is, crime is investigated at different levels, in the state. At the police station level, at the district level, at the, again, the CBCAD level. So we have to categorize the cases which should be handled only by the investigating agencies. It is necessary that we should have a much stronger investigating division, even within the existing system, with exclusive cadre of detectives. That is, once they come and join this department, they should not be again transferred back to the law and order wing. If we can build up a cadre like that, and if they can get promotions in that cadre only, we have to strengthen the CBCAD from the top to the district level and even further below also, so that certain type, whatever cases we decide should be handled by this division, should be straight away taken over by them. It doesn't require any orders from the DGP or anybody else. And if it is a murder, it should be straight away taken over by them, or it is whatever we define. Earlier, it was only a case of murder. Now, only grave crimes, which we used to call them as grave crimes. Now, these days, you have a variety of cases. You have anti-corruption cases, you have enforcement cases, you have various other cases. All these agencies which are now investigating, Anti-Corruption Bureau, Vigilance and Enforcement, CBCAD, all these investigating agencies should be brought under autonomous body outside the government. Autonomous at the same time accountable. Accountable to what? Accountable to a neutral agency. The agency can be headed by a senior civil servant or a senior judge or police officer, whoever it is. It should be a collegium separated, agreed upon by both by the ruling party and the opposition parties. We have to create that kind of system. And these cases, investigating agencies, investigating, the more important cases should be taken out of the control of the local police. And these people should investigate it, and they should be accountable only to this board outside the government. This is an idea difficult to sell, but it's possible because, you are still want to retain the police with the government, so they may agree to it. Otherwise, even this, they may not easily agree. Otherwise, what is happening today, at least I know case in Telangana and case in Andhra Pradesh, though Telangana police, I would consider them as one of the most efficient police systems today in the country, but still, in Andhra, you have our own problems. But then, what's happening there is, at every level, there is interference. At every level, unless the rule, now these postings are done at the instance of the local MLAs, unless the MLA tells them, they do not even register the case. That kind of situation has arisen now in Andhra Pradesh, and if they register, they mitigate the offense. If the ruling party is the accused person, then they register a case hurt. If an opposition man is the accused, they make it an attempt to murder. All these kinds of things are going on. If these things ought to be, we have to check them. We have to make a beginning somewhere. That should start with separating the investigating part of the police department from the main law and order keeping functions. It is possible. But then, as somebody rightly said, Justice Chauhan made an interesting point saying people do not want to go to police station. Why? They do not want to go to police station because police are given uninhibited powers of arrest. Earlier, it was much discussed, and then people decided in which cases people should be unable to arrest, in cases, they should merely investigate but not arrest. That is arrestable and non-arrestable offenses instead of possible and non-offenses. That is also not received any attention. Police people do not go to the police station because, many people come to us, retired police officers, saying, please put in a word, we would like to go and meet the investigating officer. Unless you put in a word, I don't want to go to the police station because I don't know what happens to me there. They may arrest me. A person may be falsely involved in a case. You should be able to go to the police freely and tell them that I am falsely involved and please look into my version also. He is not able to do that because you have given uninhibited powers of arrest to the police, and it should be taken away. We should define police should be able to investigate most of the cases, and only in a few cases they should be authorized to arrest. Let them investigate and charge it. Let them record the state of the person who is involved in the case, and then you probe into it and see how true it is. That is not done today. Very often the statement of even the accused person is not recorded. This is the most unfortunate state of affairs. But the most important thing is, everybody says there are so many encounters now. Why? Why there are so many encounters? Encounters because people have lost faith in the criminal justice system. They are not sure the case are ever going to end in conviction. Their police is being practically encouraged by the people in ruling party or whatever it is. This is not, how long we are not sure what's going to happen to this case. So let us cut it short and, some fake encounter thing is done. This kind of situation is the most dangerous thing. Tomorrow they may start eliminating each other, the same politicians. So this should be put an end to. How do we put an end to? We put an end to by replacing this colonial criminal justice system. The system, this kind of system is not there in UK. After all, British police was organized in 1830 and our police was organized in 1861. These are two different systems. One was made for their own country, home country. The other was made for colonies. And with this colonial system, you have continued for 70 years. Everything is colonial about the system. Not only the police, the way we make recruitment to judiciary. I was Secretary of Service Commission. We used to recruit magistrates. High Court said, no, we would like to recruit. I said, why? Recruitment is the function of the Public Service Commission. No, we know better. We want to recruit. They recruited and made 50% of the marks for YOC and 50% written examination. You know the reason behind it. This kind of, everything about it is colonial still. You take the Evidence Act, you take the CRPC. I'm happy now. The present government, I understand, they're going to revise, not amend. They're going to revise both CRPC and IPC. I read it in the newspapers the other day. I hope it is true. If that is the case, I think it's a good beginning. The CRPC is such a mess, such a most ill-drafted document. Anything can be done under that. And then, these people blame the police. People blame the police because police are trying to, very often they tell us openly, sir, if you have to successfully prosecute this case, we have to cut the corners. Because the law is like that. You are forcing them to do things which they do not like doing. So unless there is total change, unless we change the CRPC, we change the Evidence Act and we redraft now IPC, what's the point in putting an offense in the IPC and calling it non-cognizable? Does it make sense? Once it is part of the IPC, it should be cognizable. In fact, the very idea of cognizance of offenses itself is wrong. The offense is an offense, whether it is a minor offense or major offense or whatever.
You can't hear now.
So now we say even otherwise the time, sir. Okay.
Come back.
I would like to briefly say one thing about prosecution, sir. It's in a great mess. As my colleague, senior colleague, Mr. Karthikeyan rightly said, we investigate cases, we do all kinds, however value we investigate. The prosecution system is such as Director of Prosecutions, it has been recommended, it has been introduced in the undivided state of Andhra Pradesh, but then it has been stalled by the these people in the bar. They saw to it, there is no recruitment to it. So unless you improve all these things, there is no use blaming the police And people often say, police is not doing this, they're not well trained. In fact, I would say in the criminal justice system, police is the only organization which is trained well. Prosecutors are not trained.
Right.
Judges, even our magistrates, before they join the judiciary, they are not trained. But police, undergo 2 years, 3 years of training, but still they are not able to do the job. We should look into it, why they are not able to do the job. What is wrong with the system? Let us, the only committee which has examined the whole thing in entirety is Malimat committee. Justice Malimat very clearly pinpointed what is wrong with the system. And it has not been implemented. So my point is now immediately investigating agencies, let them be separated from the law order keeping functions of the police. Let them be brought under a autonomous board, autonomous yet accountable board outside the government.
Right. Thank you.
And let the prosecution system be reorganized. I have made a few suggestions. For example, now, if you do not have a director of prosecution, why have only a single prosecutor? You have a panel. Let the accused select, the complaint, whoever is facing the trial, select one of the people on the panel, prosecutor. I'm sorry, complainant, select one of the prosecutors. You have a panel of prosecutors. Similarly, I should have a right to appoint my own lawyer to assist the prosecutor. If I am a complainant, if I feel my case is not receiving good attention, I should be permitted to hire a lawyer to assist the public prosecutor. Still better, you must have a panel of lawyers at the district sessions level, and the complainant should have a right to choose one of them.
Right.
Otherwise, you are stuck with one person. If that one person happens to be in the ruling party, a ruling party person, then nothing can be done. That's what is happening in most of the cases. So, sir, the whole system is rotten. We are only looking at one aspect of it. It has outlived its utility. It is a colonial system. In fact, I have written a detailed note saying colonial police in democratic India. It lists all these problems. See, your systems, your procedures, everything is colonial. And you want to police a democratic country with this colonial system. So let us do it to start with. As Jayaprakash rightly said, we are not able to do the whole thing at a time. Let us start with investigating agencies. Let them take it out of the control of the ruling party. Otherwise, we know what is happening in the state of Andhra Pradesh or Telangana. Now, every time somebody comes to power, is chasing the people in opposition. This kind of situation should not be there. So let the investigating agents be independent, at the same time accountable. This is what I wanted to say. I've written a detailed note. I find, you don't have much time for me, so I'm not reading out all those things.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So now we open it for public questioning. Or anybody, what is the system, sir? Is there any audience which can put any question? Madam?
Questions are there in the chart, and our team will pose the questions to the panelists.
Read one by one. What are the questions? So that any one of us will answer.
Yes, sir. We would like to start off the discussion with the question about the prosecution and appointment of prosecutors. So the district attorney system that has been proposed, if we could get a perspective from the judges on the panel about what would be the pros and cons of having a judge serve as a prosecutor for a while, as Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan proposed.
See, in Germany, we have a system where law teachers are bound to become a public prosecutor in all courts, trial courts. And they are trained in a way that they are appointed as a judge. Judges are interchangeable with public prosecutors, and they can serve there and come back as judges. So why can't we have that kind of system? Think over it. It's a difficult proposition. But I had been in Germany, studied this system as a chairman of the law commission, and found it so effective because they have experience. Our grievance here is we have a system that in High Court and Supreme Court, jurists can be appointed. Nobody had ever been appointed for the reason that they do not have this practical experience. In Germany, 50% of the judges are appointed from the academicians, teachers, because they had been doing work of a public prosecutor from the very beginning, from magistrate court to the High Court. So we must have some system, a completely different system, but whoever may be the public prosecutor, he must be a man of knowledge, integrity, and his integrity should not be doubted. And he should not be under any political pressure. It should be an autonomous body altogether to be supervised by a person who is appointed by a competent authority and is not guided by any extraneous consideration other than the merit. So now I will request Justice Rimani, please. Now you speak on this subject because you are the most experienced person. You had been a public prosecutor, a judge for such a long time, sir.
Jayaprakash suggested that there should be, you see, the district judges who should head the district prosecution for some period, and they can be transferable. Now, district judges coming as prosecutors, there is nothing wrong because they have vast experience and they know, they have been, you see, controlling the prosecutors and lawyers as a judge. Therefore, they know how to deal with the cases as prosecutor and as a defense lawyer both. So there would not be any difficulty in making them that, you see, the rules will have to be, of course, changed, or that rules will have to be framed where a district judge can be brought as a district attorney who will be heading the prosecution, no problem. But problem arises because the local district judges, if they are appointed prosecutors in the local courts, that the problem may come. If they are sent outside the state, then you see that could be, I think that can work properly. The district.
Consider one thing. In a district judge, suppose we bring a CJM, officer of a senior CJM, Chief Judicial Magistrate, or Chief Metropolitan Magistrate who has experience of 15 years, 10 years of working in the court. Because here may be a question, a district judge may not be willing to go as a public prosecutor.
Right. That is what I am. That is why should we think of that option even? Why should we not find out some other method whereby we can strengthen the prosecutor and where we can appoint a district public prosecutor and district government pleader who is quite efficient to handle the whole district and control the prosecutors. Instead of doing this interchangeable, we have lawyers, experienced lawyers. We have experience. I have seen experienced prosecutors, but unfortunately, they are not brought as a district head. Junior lawyers, junior prosecutors are appointed as district government pleader or district public prosecutors. So the core issue is that politicizing this should be stopped. There should be transparent method to appoint a district head of prosecution who should control all the prosecutors, and director of prosecution should be given more powers. And there is no, you see, there are judicial academies, there are police academies, but prosecutors are not properly trained unless you train the prosecutors, unless you give them infrastructures, again, unless you give them libraries and all these things. One district judge is not going to change the situation, let me tell you. The prosecution branch has to be made, you see, strong. Then the prosecutors of the impeccable integrity are to be appointed. Knowledge of law is very, very important. Integrity and knowledge of law, the combination of these two things can make the prosecution. Now the investigation is good, but the prosecutor is not able to present the case properly. I will go one step further, that as a judge, my experience is that even if a case is not presented properly and witnesses have given proper evidence, prosecutor may be weak.
But judge can take
Judge is good. If the judge is good, he will give the correct judgment.
Right.
But we are not on that issue. We are on the strengthening of prosecution. So my sincere, you see, submission to this is that the strengthening of prosecution shall start with transparency in appointment. This district level prosecutors shall be salaried prosecutors, not like you per case.
Per case.
And there should be a training institute. They should be trained first and then they should be brought to the courts. Like judges, judicial magistrates are trained first and then they are appointed in the court. The prosecutors also shall be trained. because doing the work of lawyer, defense lawyer, and doing the work of prosecutor, there is a lot of difference. You cannot ask any leading question, and you have to bring your case on the record without asking any leading question. There are some constraints. With these constraints, how to proceed further, they require training. Honesty, integrity, competency, all these things are using the core issues today.
Right.
The system has become rotten actually.
Right. Now, what is the second question, madam?
Overhauling is necessary. There are so many issues. There is not one issue. So
Right.
district attorney, district judge is not going to change the system, let me tell you. Unless you have a comprehensive plan to improve the prosecution in the country.
No, sir, there may be another difficulty. I am a district judge. I am transferred there to district attorney. Person junior to me is a district judge there.
Yeah.
So that may be embarrassment for me.
So don't go for that option. You see sincere will that don't go for that option. You have better options open. Search for those options and you will get it. Only thing is that there should be will, political will should be there to do.
That's the most important.
That shall I supplement 1 minute I take.
Sir.
When we started this Directorate of Prosecutions in Andhra Pradesh, we put their pay scales on a par with the judicial magistrates and sub-judges and judges. Second thing is we made it a feeder category for judiciary. That is, the prosecutors can also be appointed as district judges and sub-judges and all that.
Yes.
And now again it has been amended, it has been removed. So it is possible, if you think about it, we can always find a solution. What if a prosecutor is senior to the judge? In Supreme Court, most of these lawyers are senior to the judges on the bench there. Nothing wrong. The judge's function is different from the prosecutors. So there's nothing wrong, sir. It can be done.
So who is the head of the prosecution?
Excuse me, because you see, we are
Director of Prosecutions. When we started, it was a district
High
judge.
Court judges. Once appointed, they remain High Court judges. If you are appointing a district judge as a prosecutor permanently, that is different. But if you are again sending him back, if you want to send him back as district judge,
No, where it is, when both of them are employees of the government, it should be intertransferable. It is possible.
Sir, who is the head? According to, he is a police officer or a...
No, he's a senior judge, district judge, grade 1 district judge. He's Director of Prosecutions.
That is something sensible. Because in UP, it is the Director General of Police. And he can be placed any time. I may not be interested after 6 months. I will be seeking a better...
Sir, for that matter, even in our police academy, the head of the law department is a judge.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers, you have prosecutors, you have police officers, and you have judicial officers, and everybody in that department. That's how we started. It is an integrated system. We should not compartmentalize it.
Right. Madam, what is the next question? Sir.
Sir, could we take a comment from Dr.
If I may
J.
step in, sir, just 1 second. As long as 5 objectives are fulfilled, competence, the stature of the prosecution, independence, obviously, public trust, and coordination among the 3 agencies, the investigator, the prosecutor, and the judiciary. As long as these are fulfilled, it does not matter whether district is somebody. The reason why we went in for that is that assumes many things: independence, stature, etc., and political interference, even institutional, is not possible. But it's not written in stone. These objectives, something drastic must be done in India, that's all. Because as Justice Ailani said, our prosecution is incredibly weak. Though there are individual prosecutors who are great, you cannot have a criminal justice system with such weak prosecution.
Yes, madam. What is the next question?
Sir, just one more question to Dr. JP is that if we do adopt this system, would this be a conflict of interest to have a judge since the Directorate of Prosecution is under the elected government? Would it take away from the independence of the judiciary? Would it be a conflict of interest?
No, the eminent judges are better placed, but already we have precedent. Many law secretaries in India, in the state governments, they come from judiciary and go back to judiciary again after 5 years. Andhra Pradesh has had several law secretaries whom I know personally. Mr. Anjareddy knows them, I'm sure. Many of them became judges of high courts, etc. Some probably even Supreme Court.
Law secretary is a senior most district judge. He comes as a high court.
Yes.
Absolutely, sir.
So is the Director of
Germany
Prosecutions.
already, the chairman already pointed out the German case, for instance. We want independence of judiciary, independence of prosecution. It does not mean that just because you become a prosecutor one day you become impious. This is not about. This is about a role. This is about an important function. So there is no conflict of interest as long as the functions are very clearly separated at a point of time and there is no political interference.
Right. What is next, madam?
Sir, we have a question for T.R. Karthikeyan, sir. Sir, during the Rajiv Gandhi's assassination case, we saw that there were a lot of political parties throwing accusations at each other. So amid such political pressure, how did you remain neutral and what measures did you specifically take to ensure that you insulate the investigation from political interference?
One is
Training.
my own principle, never seek a favor from anyone. And they all know I never sought a favor, never seek in future also. I declined many things later on also. One, that gave me the strength. Number two, I have also gone on record, even when the book was released by President Abdul Kalam, I made a statement. I had more serious problems, more difficulties, more tension, defending the investigation and trial from the political manipulations of political leaders than from the terrorists. If you don't fear for life, if you don't seek any favor from anyone, that's your principle, no one on the planet can. So whether you want to be a king or a slave, it depends on you. I know very well I have not sought any favor. I will not seek any favor. So nobody had the courage directly to interfere. Manipulations were done, of course, we had problem. They used one commission of inquiry to answer this point of view. I had faced two commissions of inquiry. One is Justice Verma, sitting judge of Supreme Court. Another was a retired judge, I don't want to name. The second commission was manipulated by political personalities belonging to the same party because they want to put blame on each other. They want to put some mud on the Prime Minister of India, their own party leader. I had to stand firm. In open hearing, Mr. K. Tulsi was our lawyer, Solicitor General. The judge said, please produce all the trial documents before me. I said, the trial judge said, sir, you're told, because the accused were telling there's a parallel trial going on. Here is a trial, you are having a commission of inquiry, so the trial should not be going on. They wanted to stop the trial. And the judge also said, we have no option. So I told the commission, I said, you are a fact-finding, your commission. Your verdict also have no legal consequence. Whereas that's a trial which will end in conviction or acquittal, whatever it is. So what you are asking me to do is, against the law of the land, against my conscience, I will not do it. I had to do it, stand up. He said, you know, Mr. Karthikeyan, the legal consequences, I have powers. I said, I know. You can proceed against me for contempt of court. Please do it. I stood up. Mr. Tulsi was sitting with me. He was astonished. I had to do that because to defend. So I had the courage to do that. So no political party, they could do backseat, manipulation. They did not succeed. Braving the trial from the political personalities was more challenging for me than from the accused, the terrorist group. Right. It's only your moral strength.
Yes.
There is no other answer I can give you.
Yes, madam. Next.
Sir, we have a question to Anjaneya Reddy Garu. As you proposed, there should be a separate investigation agency with a separate cadre. So how do you propose the coordination between this investigation agency and the law and order police be maintained?
Well, it's possible. As it is, they are coordinating with the CBCID also. What all I am saying is the CBCID top brass should not be answerable to the party in power. He should be autonomous and he should be accountable to a committee outside the government. It is possible. Otherwise, you equip it so that they can function independently. Now, like CBI, they don't depend upon the support from the state police. They come and they investigate because they have enough resources. Similarly, the investigating agency can be given as good resources as the law and order agency. Then automatically things will improve.
Yes, please. Next.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Only
sir.
one point I want to make, not unrelated to what we are doing, is, the witnesses will speak the truth before the police, before the whole world media. But once they take oath in the court, they tell lies.
That is because of the legal system.
Perjury goes unpunished.
Legal system.
Perjury goes unpunished in this country.
Yes.
That's why most of the cases, important cases, fail. Either the accused or influential fellows, either they threat the witnesses or by them, whatever it is, they do it.
No, sir.
But then these fellows come and take oath and tell lies because they know nothing will happen to them.
No,
Because
sir.
we don't punish them. We don't punish. Provisions are there, but we don't punish.
Because it's not perjury. See, the statement recorded under 161 is not admissible.
Sir, I'm not arguing the police. I'm telling you, they will tell the truth to the whole world.
Sir,
But once they come to the witness box and take oath, they tell lies.
Justice Chavan,
sir,
you see, even the witnesses whose statements are recorded under section 164 of CRP,
Yes.
on
Yes.
oath, they
Yes.
are hostile in the court.
I-
Judges don't do anything because there are, you see, the reasons. If judge takes a case of giving false evidence before the judicial proceeding, resulting from 164 statement, he has to, he has to devote as much time as he has to devote for a case. On that, he doesn't get disposal.
That's right.
Problem is that
Also, sir, the law should be amended to make people sign their 161 statements.
not
Why
only
the law is not being amended?
even then they can say that. No.
Then it becomes a perjury.
No.
Then he should be punished. The court is not initiating action.
no,
that
no.
only the statement made before the judicial proceedings can be, if you resile, that can be giving false evidence because 161 is a police officer. He is
No,
not.
that's what I am saying. That itself is a colonial law. It is not there in other countries.
No, sir,
Colonial
no.
law.
What they say before the court,
Sir, CRP.
164, they go against it.
No, section 3, subsection 3 of section 161, there is a provision now added by the parliament that audio, video recording may be
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Now, for the want of resources, states have not started.
Yes.
If we start with it, and the person can be confronted.
Yes. That's
that
how.
will make you-
So, unless people commit perjury or punished, people take liberties with the law. One thing. Only one more point I want to make, not totally unrelated. As you rightly said, in France, I know very well, all those who suffer injuries, that is victims on account of crime, are entitled to become parties to the proceedings from the
Yes.
stage of investigation itself.
Yes.
So that the investigator cannot manipulate, nor the prosecutor can help the accused, because they can become party.
Right.
And also they say they may conduct the proceedings if the public prosecutor does not show diligence. The
That's
victims,
what exactly.
they can supplement the evidence adduced by the prosecution and put forth their own arguments. And also the victim has a right to be represented by an advocate of his choice.
Yeah, this is exactly what we should do in our country now.
Yes, and also, sir, an advocate shall be provided, see, kindly note this, an advocate shall be provided at the cost of the state.
Yes.
If the victim is not in a position to afford a lawyer. See, what a beautiful, how the victims are protected.
Right. Right.
How is that possible?
Sir,
We
20
really want to do it.
It is possible if the law is amended. We have a colonial law.
Right.
So only one more point I will conclude. The victim's right to participate in criminal trial shall, inter alia, include the right to provide evidence, to put questions to witnesses with the leave of the
Yes,
court,
yes,
to
wonderful.
be informed of the status of investigation, to move the court to ensure proper investigation, to be heard on issues relating to bail and withdrawal of prosecution, to advance argument after the prosecutor has submitted his argument, and to participate in the settlement of compoundable offences. So even if there is a collusion between the investigating officer and the prosecutor,
It can expose.
it cannot happen.
Right. What is
The
the next?
victim's right is protected.
Right. What is the next question, madam?
Sir, the next question is, as police is a state subject, how do you propose that we bring a uniform system of such separation of investigation throughout the country?
No, CRPC is a central act. The states have only power to amend it with the assent of the president. So there will be no problem if they want to do it. If there is a political will, Only then it is possible to bring any kind of reform, otherwise not possible. So many judgments, so many reports, but nobody hear that. See, Lalita Kumari said that you will lodge the FIR in every case. Say whatever may be the consequences, but you cannot deny. People are denied every day. They are going under section 156 clause 3, lodge this FIR, lodge. So what is the use of the constitution bench judgment or any judgment of the superior court or Supreme Court, which says they laid down the law, it is binding on every citizen. So in police training colleges, they should be taught what are the recent law, what are the amendments in the statutory provisions, how they should give effect to the judgments of the Supreme Court. Every day we are not handcuffing. It's violative of Article 21, but no court has said it's totally prohibited. There is a procedure. Record reasons, take the consent of a permission from the magistrate if you are taking him on remand, but nobody takes it. Otherwise, many problems can be solved. Hardened criminals can be handcuffed, but there is a procedure laid down by the court for that. Why our police officers are not trained or taught about these judicial pronouncements? What is the procedure laid down therein? We cannot handcuff a person, therefore he was trying to run and therefore this encounter fake or genuine, whatever it is. These type of problems, we have to educate our police officers. What is the recent development in, what is the change in law, what are the judicial pronouncements? Yes, please. Yes.
We need a specific clarification, sir. For instance, after due consideration, the Parliament amends the CRPC to provide for independent investigation of certain offences as well as independent prosecution with appropriate mechanism. Is it binding on the states or not?
It must be. It is binding. It's a Central Act 254, Article 254. There must not be repugnancy. Only remedy is the state can come with the amendment, but they seek the assent of the president. Otherwise, binding. That's why I'm saying 25A must be complied with by the state. There is no other alternative.
Unfortunately, the wording there is, sir, may, and the may is now abused by the states.
May means...
may is may not also.
You're right.
Most of the time of the court is taken, whether may means shall or shall means may. What is the meaning of this comma? Why don't we use this word in such a way that is binding?
You're right. Unfortunately, even when shall is applied in case of local
what is
Post Law Gram Nyaya Act, still states are not complied.
Yes.
Sir, I will say that, you see, courts are now being equipped better and better. Police agencies are being equipped better and better. They are being given better equipments. Forensic science laboratories are also improving. Everything is improving. But again, I come to the point that prosecution is not improving. And prosecution is the backbone of the whole thing.
Yes.
Unless you improve the prosecution, you see, even if there is some deficiency left inadvertently or intentionally by the police officer in investigation, and rest of the portion is sufficient to seek conviction, the good prosecutor can do it. So my, point is that if a lot of money is being spent on judiciary and police, and it's good, there's nothing wrong. Spend similar level of amount on the improvement of prosecution, good prosecutor, good prosecuting system, infrastructure, machinery, everything should be given to them.
All right.
That is
actually the weakest link now.
Because even if the investigation is weak, something is left out intentionally or due to mistake or due to some other reason. The prosecutor is good. He can use CRPC. He can apply to the court under section 311 to call the witness who was not examined. He can apply under section 319 to add the accused who are not added. There are so many provisions in CRPC, but the prosecutor must be strong.
You need a prosecutor who understands CRPC.
Yeah.
What difficulty is it? Evidence Act section 165.
I said you need a
3A provides that the court can ask at any stage.
Yeah.
With any question. This power is never exercised unless the prosecution closes the evidence and defense is directed to lead the evidence.
Yeah.
A is not used. Otherwise, suppose the accused is there. Court can ask him. Now this witness says so. What do you say?
This is
A, because we have not been trained in that way. Our prosecution 309. Once the trial is start, it should go day to day.
Day-to-day basis.
In how many cases do we follow 3G09?
Nothing happens, never happens.
Why?
But honestly telling, I was doing when I was CBI judge, I was keeping 1 or 2 cases on the board only.
Because you wanted to ensure the compliance with 309?
Yeah.
Now I was telling in Mathura case, 19 judges completed this trial. Had 309 been complied with, perhaps 1 or 2 sessions judge could have done it. Now I am a session judge, I recorded the evidence, I know what is the demeanor of the witnesses, I am transferred another judge come.
Because it's stored in my mind.
But if 20 judges conclude a trial, what will be the result? What will be the consequence? How do you know what was the witness was demeanor, what was his behavior, whether he was veracity of his evidence? So 309, we must have a prosecutor, we must have a court who is well acquainted with the procedural law as well as substantive law. That is the whole problem. So we have to improve the situation as whole. Not, yes, in piecemeal. So, madam, time is over. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to meet such a august house and so learned and experienced members, participants. Thank you very much, sir. I have to start the arbitration at 11. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank
Dr.
you.
Jayaprakash Narayan.
Thank you.
Jayaprakash Narayan, you are taking a sacred duty.
We are obliged to
take it to the logical end. Not one more report, one more, we have had enough reports.
Thank you.
You are capable of taking it. You are the high time. If you don't do it now, there will be chaos in the nation.
Thank you.
We'll persevere. We require your leadership.
We are all with you. We are all with you. We are all with you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Justice Tereliani, sir. Thank you, sir. Justice Chavan. Thank you, Anjana Reddy Garu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Go ahead.
Thanks a
So
lot.
my heartfelt thanks to all the speakers for joining us today and for sharing their valuable insights. Thank you, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayana Garu, for leading this initiative. And we also thank all the participants for attending the session. The next session will be from 5 p.m. and we would be focusing on criminal procedural reforms. So the participants will receive the Zoom link an hour prior to the session. So we hope to see you all there.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.